Hey everybody, welcome to a very special episode of the Output Habit Podcast. Really excited to share this one with you guys. I had as my guest on the show this week, Darren Doane, a filmmaker since 1990 or so. He's been making just a ton of music videos, worked with a variety of different artists. He's also made some feature films. Some of you guys may know the movie Saving Christmas. I first saw the documentary Collide, and it really made a difference in my life and how I view apologetics. But he's just made a ton of stuff over the past 3 decades or so. And he's been the owner now of the Doane Creative Agency for the past few years, has been putting out a lot of content, a podcast of his own about building brand and what that really means for someone who's a business owner or for anyone who wants to leverage the opportunities that are out there today. So his content intrigued me, inspired me. That's what started the Output Habit podcast to begin with. So that's why this is really special to me. If you would like to listen to some other podcast episodes of his podcast and a couple others that he's been on recently, where the host did a better job of asking about his background and where he's kind of been and what's brought him to where he is today, I'm going to include links to those in the show notes, or if you're watching this on YouTube, just look down below and those links will be there. And if you want to follow me and see how I'm putting some of the advice that Darren has given me into practice, you can follow me at Output Habit on Instagram or at Output Habit XS on TikTok. But now let's get to the good stuff. I hope you enjoy. Hey Darren, how's it going? I got the boys in for a bit here. They are
Hey boys.
Hi.
they are
How y'all doing today?
Good.
they
Are you guys is school done for you guys? You got school, you got homeschool, you got college. What do you guys do now? How old are you?
Go ahead.
I'm 10. And I'm 8.
Is school out yet?
Yeah. Yeah, because we're homeschooled.
All right. Yeah, my kids just ended today, so the last one was today, so
Very
it's
nice.
summertime. It's summer.
Yeah, I saw the post. The Knox is off to junior high now.
Yeah.
Man, oh man.
Crazy, huh? Is that better? Can we see the
Oh hey, there he is.
there we go, it's on now. All right.
Oh, I'm just gonna hit record on my end.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Let's have some fun.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good. All right.
Recording in progress.
Cool. Well, anyway, yeah, I just told the boys they could hop on too if they wanted to, because
Sure.
they're both very creative in their own way, and figured they could pick up stuff. You know, I've kind of been encouraging them to start their own YouTube channels around the things that they do. Caleb, he's a writer. He's he writes every day. It's like, hey, there you go. Just you got to do it every day.
That's right.
And he wants to write books. He writes stories, and I tell him, like, yeah, go with it, roll with that. If that's what you want to do, cultivate that, develop that skill and that ability. Gabriel, he's the athletic one. He wants to be a running back, and said, hey, you can make some videos. You know, what are you doing? How are you trying to get from point A to point B, and put stuff out there? And if you really want to do it,
I just had a friend of mine sent me his son has been doing a lot of mountain biking and just got like some form of sponsorship with a bike, company.
Nice.
And he had sent me, he said, hey, let me know what you think. My son made this like unboxing and then putting together of his new bike. That was part of the kind of the stipulation with the sponsorship. Hey, we'll get you stuff out, right?
Sure.
But I was watching the video, and there were so many things you could just take for granted with him putting together this unboxing video, invited a friend over, the shots, the time lapse, the speed, him, them kind of making fun of each other, buddies showing up, coming down the driveway to help. And I was like, the camera giving updates. I mean, what hit me was watching a guy that just got a sponsorship from a mountain bike company making this video. Actually I honestly believed had more, I don't want to say skill per se, but it was people coming out of film school don't get trained in doing that.
Yeah.
Right? Like, he told a story.
Mm-hmm.
He told a first person story and edited it, put together. Even the use of when do you film yourself, when do you film other people, the time lapse, all that stuff is filmmaking, and so this next generation is being raised, absorbing how to communicate through video.
Yeah.
And so they're already thinking in their mind, okay, we'll get the opening shot, we'll get the above shot, we'll get the time lapse, all that stuff is, that's creative vernacular for sharing and showing and telling stories. And I was like, I don't even think people kind of film school could do this. It just really kind of rocked my world a little bit. I was like, this is really fascinating.
Yeah. It's something that I've really picked up and recognized and want to put into practice the past year or so is that you learn so much more by doing than by just thinking through things theoretically.
Yeah.
So that's what I've tried to do. That's why I called my brand what it is, Output Habit. Because I've been very, very intentional for a long time about quality input and listening to stuff and reading stuff and making sure that I have plenty of good input, but having that balance of getting stuff out there, taking the things that I am hearing about or learning about, and how can I put it into action and recognize that it might not always go as perfectly as I would have it laid out in my head, but I'm going to learn stuff. I'm going to get better. I'm going to get closer to whatever that is by doing stuff instead of just thinking about stuff all the time.
Well, and I'm thinking a lot about this lately too, because I'm taking a little bit of a break, trying to get another view and perspective of kind of what's going on. And something, a part of that is something you just touched on, which is, it seems, and I'm right at the beginning of rethinking through a lot of these things. It seems as though there really is a rebirth of, again, work with me here. It's still it's a work in progress. This is the first podcast I've even done since kind of thinking about rethinking everything.
And your last podcast episode launched a whole bunch of questions in my mind for today.
No,
go ahead and roll with your thought there.
Good. Yeah, no, we'll go through that. I felt like I should have ended it by saying I could work through a lot of this. Well, I could be clear. But that's what my podcast has been about, just going and doing. And here it is. Sorry if I didn't wrap it up well enough. But there seems to be not rebirth, but there seems to be a rediscovery of a conscious work ethic. It seems as though there was a time when you didn't have an option in regards to a work ethic. And not that there hasn't always been the ability to be lazy. I'm not saying that, but we are now at a very fat, not only spiritually, but also physically. We're in a very fat culture now where I think for the first time in history, like, poor people are overweight, right? Just so there seems to be a reawakening of work ethic, which then comes with it a lot of, overtly bad stuff too. There's an awakening of masculinity, and there's an awakening of, fill in the blank, but with that though is the zeitgeist is so much quicker. Right, it's a spike and it's down. So the zeitgeist is not 9 months or a year of wearing bell bottoms, right? It's 4 weeks, right? We're up, then we're down. So I've been trying to wrap my head around that just now, in the sense of what is the pulse by which we are experiencing everything, and then, to your point, then the output, then what does the output look like? And what does the output have to accomplish now? That's kind of what I'm trying to wrap my head around.
Gotcha. Yeah, and then one of the things that kind of came to the forefront of my mind is, coming into today is, I just listened to the last Doane cast like a week ago, and I felt like, I guess one of the first questions should I ask, like how are you doing? Like there was a little bit of like a downer feel to it, like how are you doing?
I mean, really good. Really good. I was thinking, honestly, just this morning, I was thinking about it again. Like, I put myself through a PhD program,
Mm-hmm.
As someone that never went to college.
Yeah.
I realized, wow, I've never learned anything in my life like I did in the last 3 years. I never intentionally said I have to go learn, I have to rethink. Everything's been a gradual hustle, work, experience, apprentice, just like that's what you do, right? But when you stop and say, no, I'm going to learn a new language, that's different than just hustling.
Yeah.
Right. So the intentionality of like, I have to be thoughtful. I have to force myself to be thoughtful about something. What is this new, language? And the new language was evolving in real time.
Yeah.
But just like I'm assuming people that go to school or go to college or have gotten a degree would relate to this. I never have. So now I can relate back the other way. Mm-hmm. You are immersed. You are fully immersed, right? And you're immersed in things that really no human should be immersed in, right? When you go to get your MDiv, no human should really be immersed in Trinitarian heresies, right? I mean, but you are, or when you're learning, or when you're apprenticing to be an electrician, no one should be immersed with the stuff that you're studying for on the test, right? It's an overload.
Yeah.
Right. You are packing so much on top of you, and you're so pedantic because you're trying to be thoughtful, mm-hmm. educated, so that then you can figure out what is the natural flow going to be, but you have to get pedantic. So I feel like what's actually happening is I'm about to work into what is the actual output of it. Like, what is this going to look like now? And so I'm moving very quickly into what I think that is.
Okay.
And what's nice is I'm not having to think as much, because I said, look, I'm done. I'm going to graduate myself. And now I'm actually going to figure out, and now I'm going to go get a job, right? I've graduated with my PhD, and now I want to go and get a job where I can apply that. And the thing is when you go and get that job now, they don't sit down and talk to you about all the, 4th century heresies, right?
Right.
They know the work you've done. And now the hope is they say, tell us what you can do for us here, right? Mm-hmm. We see your credentials. We know what you've done. I think, and again, this is the first time I've ever talked about it. I think what's happening is I was talking so much about your real-time output is your resume. Mm-hmm. I think what's about to happen now is, now it's time to go get a job with all this. Now it's time to really say, how do we leverage this? What does that look like? And so the same way I put myself in the front, one of the people putting myself out in front to really document this journey, live what I believed is the process. Now what I want to do is I want to go cash it in and see what that looks like, and then document that, and then communicate that, and see if that brings people value. But I'm doing great. One of the weirdest things was, from a business standpoint, was about a half a dozen entities, I'll just say, that had never pulled the trigger, that wanted to work together, called and were like, okay, we'll commit now. So the first thing I got that I haven't even collected yet in a series of thoughts is, now when it appeared as though I was taking myself off the market, and in one sense, I don't think I directly said that, like I'm quitting, or I said, look, there's a new problem, and I don't think that new problem is going to be solved by what I've been currently doing. That said, I thought it was very interesting that people started calling immediately and saying, where do I write the check? How do we work with you? Have you, like, did we miss the boat? We're so sorry. I was like, no. People were like, are you calling me? Was your podcast about us? Because if so, we're sorry. We didn't. I was like, no, it's not about you. Because in one sense, it wasn't just about me. What I didn't communicate on that, because I didn't think is appropriate at the time, I was watching other people go through this as well. So I was layering multiple things, going like, ooh, this just got really interesting. This is like if the world was all 6'2" supermodels and you were working towards that, and you woke up and it was like, 5'8" the new supermodel, you'd be like, well, I got to rethink some things, like I really need to rethink this. So, but I think also, life obviously factors into that. And, one of my daughters had suffered a pretty bad concussion, and we're working through that right now as well. And so I'm also just realizing bandwidth, what's there. And I was having something, understanding concussions now was also replacing all those things you think too much about. Now I'm like, every second I'm not thinking about documenting, and I'm thinking about, okay, how does blood flow work, and how do oxygen levels work, and hyperbaric chambers, and what's the research on hyperbaric chambers, and then so there was, it's never singular, right? It's never one thing, but I probably didn't communicate well enough that it wasn't like I had some bad scenario, I was just upset and I'm done. Like, no, it had nothing to do with that. I was done. I have projects go south all the time. This was more about, I've been trying to bring people value on what I thought was the best strategy. Me saying that I think there's something else coming is me just hopefully giving a freebie insight to just maybe get people ready. I still believe this is the best way to communicate. There's no arguing that, but I am trying to help people really pour gas on something. I see something, I don't know what it looks like yet. I don't know what the fire is just yet. I want to see if I can find that and then bring that back to people. But back to your question, doing great, a little more focused on my daughter's concussion. And, when things, we're pretty conditioned for things to be done in a couple of weeks. Even when you break an arm 3-4 weeks in, right? It's a cast. When the brain goes, and when the brain doesn't get back to normal after 3 weeks, you start doing some really long-term thinking in regards to, okay, what does this look like? Okay, my daughter's not finishing her freshman year of high school. Oh, okay. Like, what is that? Like, oh, that's happening. Right. So, but already seeing the providence of God and different, I mean, it's obviously, it's really amazing, but all those things together, I think were, just like when I started this, it was multiple things, but you try to pinpoint it for people to have a narrative. Just like there were multiple things of my life when I started this, there's multiple things as I look to transition now.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, and one of the things that I really picked up in, your podcast. I mean, it seemed like you had kind of a mix of communicating to businesses, whether it be small businesses, some bigger businesses, but also to individuals, and how
Yes.
individuals can be capitalizing on things. And that's really what I took. I don't have a business that has any employees, so I don't like have any real scale to my business at this time. But that's what really connected with me. What is it that the average person potentially could do? I mean, obviously there's maybe that 80-20 rule that says only. Oh, go ahead.
Let me ask this real quick before I forget this, because I think it ties to what you're saying. I'm, and I'll just refer people to this podcast for more clarification, which will be good.
Sure.
It's not a bad idea. I should just upload your podcast to my Donecast. Like when you get done, give it to me. I'll just upload it.
It's fine with me.
Well, that'd be great. That'd be a great thing, just to put your podcast up there.
No problem.
And well, I really believe there's $250,000 a year for the average person right now to pick up.
Yeah, and that's what gets me excited, even as a pastor, because I'm going like, I still see the average person, whether they're a believer or not a believer, in the the wage slave mindset, and just like, this is my lot, like this is the what I have to kind of settle for, and of course it limits what people that are as a part of a church can do for the kingdom. So
let me give you a great one for your church, for people around, anyone listening. There is and again, bear with me, I haven't articulated any of this yet, so I'm working through vernacular with you for the first time.
That's cool.
We have this gap, and one of the gaps that I've not defined yet, but I'll give an example. We've come back to a point in history where to have a website done that you're serious about kind of starts in the 30, 40, 50,000 range again. If you want to hire someone, a really good designer, thoughtful, up to like 80 grand to do like overhaul, web, all of that. And yet at the same time, so that's the upper end. But there's all these companies now that actually know they need a website for the first time, or they need to overhaul what they've had sitting there for 10 years.
Yeah.
Okay. I personally know people that I've been working with and helping from a skill set standpoint who just spent the last year learning Wix. That's it. And are making $5,000, $10,000 to build a new site for people, and then $2,000 to $3,000 a month to upkeep and kind of help connect it with their social media and do this. Right. So all of a sudden, there's $50,000, right?
Yeah.
On the table that people aren't even thinking about, right? So, and when they go to talk to web people, a web designer, and they say, 50, 80, that's a lot of, it's a lot of work. I know it's a lot of money, but but if I could get someone to come in and help build this, and maybe someone who's aligned with what we do, anybody listening right now could go spend a month just playing around with Wix templates, and then could probably walk down their main street or go to their church or go to businesses they know and say, hey, for $2,000 a month, I'll get your website redone or rework. Now you just picked up $24,000, small side hustle. That gap between where people have priced themselves out, but where there is the lower end has a need and no one is serving it. I'm finding so many of these lower end needs that are just, I mean, that's a lot of spare money to pick up. The mowing lawns on the weekend category now
Mm-hmm.
is worth $100 grand a year,
Wow.
and not even full-time effort.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm identifying so many of these, and that could be what my next podcast is actually just identifying things like that. So that's what I mean by I'm looking at these things. I'm super fascinated. Now, what's interesting for a guy like me is I want more than 150 grand a year.
Sure.
I want more than that. Right.
Yeah.
I like 500 grand a year.
Right.
Okay. There's things I do with that. That's my prerogative. There's a certain way I like to live, certain way I like to give.
Yeah.
All those things, right? You know, I don't look at the price of anything in life. Like I don't. Now I have, don't get me wrong, I've had times where I'm looking at my bank account going, wow, I need milk. And is it going to go through? I mean, I know that world, but when I'm not at that moment, the way I like to live, not because I'm all bougie, but I just, whatever my ADD is or whatever my diagnosis is, I don't think about those things, right? So I like to just buy a plane ticket if I'm going on business. I like to, you know, buy milk. I don't price. So in order to do that, you got to kind of make a little bit more money because you're probably getting hosed everywhere.
Yeah, which you're going to give up time or money, whether you're the very frugal person. You're going to put in a lot of time to find the best deal anyway.
Right, and I like my time for a very specific thing. That's that's how I live my life. So a guy like me, though, I'm looking at all these places to pick up money. Well, that's still not enough for me. So my energy's not there, but I'm watching it very closely, and I'm mentoring people through that because I'm fascinated by it. You know, the fact that entry-level hustle could maybe get you 100 grand a year these days, entry-level hustle, not even full-time. I love that stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm fully aware that that is forming an entirely new ecosystem.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. There's a whole new ecosystem coming.
Gotcha. Yeah. So we got kids in and out over here.
That's great. I you know me, I love it.
Yeah. This one's Sophie, number 4.
Hi, Sophie.
A lot of the spunk and personality around here.
Yeah, I can tell she's lacking confidence.
She is not. She is not.
Staring through my soul. She's ready to take me down.
Yeah, she's the one that'll run around and think she can keep up with the boys and doesn't do a half bad job of it either.
That's right. I love it.
Gotcha. Yeah, so I guess another thing that I was curious about is, you know, you've talked a lot about kind of your pivot 3 years ago and what that was like, and you've documented that. I guess you've already kind of gotten into a little bit of what it's kind of like to pivot now. I mean, I guess in one sense you were kind of talking about how like you were maybe wrong in a sense when it came to, at least in the assessment of precious people or whatever. But in another sense, it sounds like you're still like I wasn't wrong about all these other things. You know, you're still all in on social media, like that's still where it's at. So what is it that is maybe really what you are recognizing as like I was wrong about this, and this is why that matters?
I thought the gatekeepers were on their way out, man. They were halfway out the door.
Yeah.
And as they were going out that door, someone at the top realized there's no one to replace them.
Yeah.
And they grabbed them and they said, by the way, bring 10 of your friends back who are equally as gatekeeping as you are.
Yeah.
And I was talking with Nate Wilson about this yesterday, and Nate kind of stopped me because he said, that's a really funny expression. But I had said something to the effect of, you know, there is and again, hard to articulate, but there is a type of person out there, and it's a real person. And I kind of went away. My early stuff was fire your marketing department, get rid of these horrible people. Then I kind of moved away from that because that just seems so mean. You can only be mean, and as I saw that, I really believe that work ethic and actually producing something was taking off, they were going to get booted, right? But then when they weren't leaving, by the pandemic kind of messed everything up, and then they weren't really leaving, or they had a break, and by the time they came back and they should have been booted, there's no one left to work. They get brought back in. It's like when you get one demon out, 7 comes back. Like when you get one precious person out, you get 7 that come back. And one of the sort of the psychology, this is where it kind of becomes like a Jordan Peterson skip, but the psychology of those people is they do not high five. They will not high five you. There will be no high fives. That's what Nate said to me. He's like, what did you say? There will be no high fives. Even when you win, even when you have success, those people can't have a party. They have to say, hold on, let's just keep going. We may have had a win today, but we don't know what tomorrow brings. So there will be no high fives. And what it does is the person I've described in the past as, I guess they're thoughtful. I guess they're tempered. We were all about to high five because we hit our quotas, but you know what? Maybe we shouldn't. Those people have even more power today. And to me, the game I play, that's the enemy. I come from a place where I'm not trying to play nice. I'm not trying to use honey as opposed to vinegar. No. I don't, because I value my time. No, I'm not here. When I identify those people, I see a cancer, I'm getting out. So now I'm just rethinking things in regards to the punchline is probably just an even more micro approach. So everything I know is still going to apply. But, I have always watched Gary Vee, and I've tried to look and figure out the micro playbook. He's got a bigger ship he's got to turn around when he does stuff. But even if you watch Gary Vee, he's been producing less content. He's produced, that's just a fact.
Is that because he's been focusing so much on NFTs and stuff like that?
Yeah, right. But what do the NFTs give Gary if he wins? It gives him the ability to do what he has openly talked about as far as his game plan. And so I've always taken Gary Vee's game plan and said, how can I execute that today? He is executing it, but so for me, what are my New York Jets, right? See, for him, it's how does he buy the New York Jets? Yeah. For him, it's how does he take all of Vayner, Sasha, and VaynerX, dump all the clients, acquire IP, and then turn his machine just onto his IP. And just so I don't betray any NDAs or confidential, things here, I may or may not have had a conversation with his team. And when talking with his team, they may or may not have had, let's just say, a client that is in the chocolate space. And which means they're competing against Nestle and like whoever, Godiva, whoever the big chocolate, right. And they still can't even convince those clients to go all in on TikTok to sell their chocolate. And if they had full control, they would say, forget every other dollar we're spending. We should be 98% all in on TikTok.
Hmm.
And they may or may not only be told you can spend 5% on TikTok. Okay.
Yeah.
There is nobody better than Gary Vee and Vayner at this game.
Right. Right.
And if they're not trusting them all in with their money and their allocation, as a guy like me, like, gonna have more success unless I speed up very quickly what I believe the plays Gary's running. So Gary has run the play with the NFTs, his own thing, doesn't have to convince anyone, doesn't have to tell, like, what I am now looking for is either my New York Jets or my NFTs, right? So there is an end game here, and that's something that I never articulated because I thought it would be way too meta, which is no, I'm trying to get to the end of something.
Yeah.
I love the process, but I'm trying to do something. My personal goals, I want my house paid off.
Yep.
I want 4 homes on my property for my children, should they want them. Okay. I have sub goals as far as my life, my children loving me, my wife, all that.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about, what are the hard asset goals?
Right.
You know, those are my goals. When I get there, I'm done. Like, I'm done.
Yeah. I've left an inheritance for my grandchildren.
Right. I'm done. That's the game I'm playing. Like, that's like, when I get there, I'll be there, and then I'll enjoy maintenance on my property and taking care of it, maybe landscaping like that. But for the time being, that's my goal.
Yeah.
Right. So now I'm figuring out even more micro how to get there.
Mm-hmm.
Using everything I've been doing, because what I can tell you is the opportunities I have now in front of me, they would never have existed.
Oh yeah.
Without what I've done the last 3 years. No way. And so what I'm doing is I'm fine tuning even more the believers. Like, and, you know, saying, okay, do you want to, like, you know, now the phone calls that I'm making is I'm saying, look, I've outsourced all my clients. What premium will you put on me only thinking about you?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, everyone's first question is, well, yeah, but you're still building your own brand. No. What if even that goes to the back burner and all that energy, all that time is now for you? What's the value there? That is what I'm tapping into now.
Gotcha.
Because I'm finding, look, even the personal brand build could be seen as, man, like, we know we get Doane, but he's still, you know, what I'm saying is what I've been doing, no one has let me really go all in. Well, there's been one client, John Sacco and Sierra, that he has run the playbook with me from day one.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
but even they do a lot of their stuff in-house now, right?
Well, and they always have. That was the beauty. That, I mean, people still don't really listen, and that's more my fault. You know? But like, I've always said, like, you need an in-house team.
Mm-hmm.
John was just able to be the only client I had that pulled off actually having an in-house team that was on board and understood that you could have marketing, you could have a branding partner, and John could be doing his own branding, and they actually all work together.
Yeah.
Right. So Sierra is and I couldn't get any other company to do what Sierra did.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I will be 90%, you know, 95% Sierra, John Sacco, because he continues. And what I've always wanted to do, I did what I did for myself, just so that when I told people what to do, I wasn't a hypocrite. No, I will play the fool too. I will do this. I will do that. I wanted to show people that I wasn't asking anything that I wasn't willing to do. Well, John did it. He knows it. And he knows that all the ideas, and look, there's 100 things that I could never do because I'm just me. But the right company, man, it opens up opportunities.
Gotcha.
I mean, especially especially if there's a bigger checkbook.
Gotcha. Yeah. So I in the last 2 days I listened to the 182 news, and then so I finished that yesterday.
That's awesome.
And I happened to just listen to the Spearing podcast because it drops on Fridays. Okay. Like, Darren Doane's on this one too. So I had you back to back on these other ones.
That's great. Well, those were a while ago, so it's so this is my first podcast since
right.
I stopped the Donecast. So you've got the exclusive.
Yeah, and it was anachronistic for me because I listened to the last Donecast last week, and then I was listening to these other two, which were recorded, a decent amount of time before that one. So it was throwing me off a little bit. But you were one of the cool things that I heard you talk about, and you've talked about this in the Donecast, is like the punk rock mindset and how that's essential to this game, kind of as you've been talking about it. Perhaps for some of my listeners, what exactly do you mean by that? And how does somebody maybe cultivate a punk rock mindset if they didn't grow up, listening to Blink 182, listening to MXPX, Yellow Card?
Everyone is connected to something punk rock. You know what I mean?
There's another thesis.
Yeah, everyone is connected. It's just it's a term, right? Yeah. But what it embodies is you want to do something and you say, how can I do this without asking anybody for anything? Right? So if you're a band, you say, well, I'm going to save up some money and go buy a bass guitar or a guitar, and maybe my friend, because he's got drums. And then what are we going to do? Well, we're going to practice in my garage, right? We can't pay for a rehearsal studio, right? So we're going to practice in the garage. And then we say, hey, we think we want to play in front of some people. Well, we could just put a concert on here in the garage, right? Well, the garage only holds 10 people. Well, why would we think more than 10 people are going to show up to see our horrible crappy band, right? It's like, so the garage is perfect, right? And well, maybe we want to go some other places and play for some other people in other people's garages, right? Or maybe someone says to you, hey, across town, will you play my garage? I got 10 friends over there. Okay. Not, oh, we don't want to play another garage. Like the punk rock mindset is let's go. Let's get in the van, meaning let's get in the van and just go tour. Let's put our gear in the back. We'll play anywhere, anytime. But that's a mechanic. That's a traveling contractor. Anywhere, anytime. I got my bag of tools, right? It requires some tools, but what it takes to get those tools in action is the attitude of anywhere, anytime, let's go, right? That is punk rock, and with as limited resources as possible. And as success comes, you're able to grow that thing. But if you keep that punk rock mindset, you don't get inflated, A, with your ego, and B, with what you're spending to make things happen. And so to me, that is the punk rock mindset. Everyone's got it. Again, if someone's ever started a business around you and they bootstrapped it, I mean, it's punk rock. It's also not expecting anybody to do anything for you.
Yeah.
Now given you can't do anything without people helping you. We're all blessed by where we start, right? Even if you start in the hood, well, if you're doing rap in 1986 and you're in the hood, you have an advantage. So even the worst place possible at any given time could have an advantage. And you just want to take advantage of those offerings that are there in front of you. So that's the punk rock mindset.
Cool. Yeah, it's cool to hear you lay that out. I've been talking in my podcast a bit about how I've kind of taken that to my own context, because you talked about seeing things through the lens of what you grew up with,
Right.
working with
Yeah.
a band, and what I'm doing on social media is just what I saw those bands doing. And I think
Which by the way, for me, I just ended my first band.
Oh yeah. So you're now you're going to go play with a new band.
Right.
Gotcha.
Yeah, this
Gotcha.
is just that early band. This is when it's Minor Threat before it becomes Fugazi. This is
Yeah.
this is that first, this is Nirvana before Foo Fighters. There's lots of reasons why we move on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not stopping, but it really does feel, and by the way, and with that comes people who will be like, no, I'm more of a Donecast guy. I'm more about the first band, right? It's always the first band, an incredible, cool one. Now he's a sellout, whatever.
Yeah.
This is getting this is Metallica losing Cliff Burton and getting a new bass player. This is like, to me, again, it's still about being a band. I'm on the indie label. Maybe I go to a major, or it's my first band. And I'm just going to form a new band.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to look at it. Yeah. So for me, I grew up, playing soccer primarily, learned, have been around athletics my whole life. So I know what that hustle looks like, to actually be able to not just be a pretty boy with the gear and like trying to look the part and playing more, spending more time playing FIFA than actually going out and doing what you need to do to get playing time on a real team, that sort of thing. But I also had friends who would talk about, back in like junior high or whatever, back when Mountain Dew was basically the only energy drink.
Right.
And then talk about getting sponsored by Mountain Dew for extreme sports. That's when, snowboarding and BMX biking and skating and whatnot was making its thing. And so there's you didn't just have to be, you didn't necessarily have to go through the gatekeeper of, well, I can only make a professional wage playing sports if I'm good enough to get into this league. Like so I saw that. I never got into extreme sports, but that's what I saw as being more of the punk rock, where it's like, I can just go and skate. I can just go and work, and bike or whatever it is. And there's still the gatekeeper in that, like, I need to get the approval of these brands that I'm hoping to represent.
Yes.
And so the connection that I made after listening to you talk about that is that, well, with there's a lot of people now looking to be brand ambassadors,
right?
Whether it's as an influencer or there's a lot of other athletes in different spaces that are looking to get picked up by different things. And I was already involved with Amway in the network marketing space, which you don't really need the permission of the company to go and represent that brand. And so I saw it as like, so I'm like the business owner, but I'm also the sponsored athlete. And so I can play all of the different parts and all the different roles. Like, I don't need the business to come along and say, oh yeah, we'll sponsor you. Like, I am the business. Like, I can sponsor myself. Like, I already have this talent, I already have this ability. So like, I can be the owner and the sponsored athlete. And
you know my thoughts on this. I mean, I'm a huge Amway Paradigm fan, and I actually think it now becomes even more valuable kind of post my new thought of where we're at. It may be the only answer. Wow. Like, I believe, no, because Amway only works without gatekeepers.
Right.
It's based on having no gatekeepers.
Mm-hmm.
It has no vested interest in adopting gatekeepers.
Yeah.
And so I actually think even more so now, like whoever, look, Amway just needs a brand build, but that's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
Because Amway is actually not articulating what they are. That's my biggest. If someone from Amway could hear this, I would say I'm not critiquing. I'm frustrated because I believe the right articulating of what Amway is. And by the way, even taking the hit and saying we're going to rebrand our name, like, and I think it quadruples. I really believe that. I've been spending a little insight. I've been spending time with a lot of wealth management people, and I've been sitting down with wealth management and telling them why I think their pitch is so bad, and then seeing if they agree with me or not. And everyone is like, you know what, man, you're right. I had no idea. Wealth management people sit down with you and they say, well, tell me your goals. What do you want? Where do you want to be? And I'm like, stop. Nobody would be sitting with a wealth management person if they knew that. They got 100 grand sitting somewhere, or they inherited $500,000 somewhere most of the time, and they don't know what they need. You to say, hey, you got 100 grand. Here's 3 things I would do with it. Either this, this, or this, and for these 3 reasons. And then they would start asking questions.
Yeah.
And every wealth management person I've talked to has said, dude, you just blew my mind. Like, whoa, you're right. That's the same with Amway. Amway works because there are no gatekeepers. Right. So everything about empowering people and being authentic and being boutique and buying local and all the things you could put. If Amway decided to say, hey, we need to really rethink this. But aside from that, those who are inside, I believe, have all the ability to still solve all of that.
Yeah. And that's maybe a bit of a crusade that I've kind of taken on, is you've helped me to see this is really what this is.
Yeah. And
people don't know that. People don't get it. People who are in it, like, they don't see it that way. They don't think about it that way. Not that there aren't people that haven't seen the potential and seen some of the positives, but really being able to understand, what this is. And I mean, obviously, the power of duplication is really powerful. A lot of people see that, and, being able to own something for yourself. Like, there's a lot of powerful concepts that people have grasped onto better than others. But the brand.
I would go right, but in the meantime, I would go right after, like, if I was doing Amway, my opening line would be, let me tell you why Amway is amazing.
Yeah.
That would be my opening line. No. Let me tell you why Amway is amazing.
Okay?
Yeah. Like, that would be like, I would lean right into it. So I think there is, again, I believe that the Amway system might be the only way out, whether through Amway or through people that adopt that model. It might be the only way, or the only way. It may be one of the most successful ways to run a business, I think, in the next 10 years.
Well, and then when you were talking with Nathan Spearing about your own model and what you're doing with your independent contractors, it's like you're already adopting it.
Who, like, by the way, are all, like, there's no one here.
Yeah,
they're all gone, and they're all making 3 times the money.
Right. And they're not going, like, they're not going to, looking at you and going like, oh man, Darren used me.
Right.
Which is,
no, I mean, I talked to everybody. I was,
right.
That was one of my guys just yesterday, like, crushing the website stuff, crushing the Wix game, because people are coming to him, and he, this is a guy that a couple of years ago was going to make maybe 24 grand, now he's going to probably have an $80,000 year. I mean, like it's because he was learning the simple things. And so but what But what makes Amway different, though, for those who want to tap into it, and this is what I think more people should be doing, is you want to start tapping into or looking into, have you actually assessed all the things Amway as an entity can do for you as an individual? Are you really exploiting the leverage they're actually giving you?
Yeah.
That I think is key, because when you get an entity like Amway that can help you, that's where the strength really comes in.
But Darren, I would never be a part of a pyramid scheme.
Right, exactly. And which, and just by the way, the whole world isn't a pyramid scheme, but
Exactly.
you know,
Yeah.
that's the funny part. You know,
Yeah,
what I
you
mean?
can't get rid of hierarchical structures at all.
Yeah, and by the way, and someone can Google and see and what Europe did and what the lawsuits were, whatever, blah blah blah.
Or I could never make money on my family and friends.
That's a big one, right? Yeah, that is.
Yeah.
You know, I remember when I was working with Kirk Cameron, and he was always getting offered things. He was saying like, I don't want to exploit, you know, my fan base, and I was like, well, I get it. You maybe don't want to exploit them with like 30 movies that they should buy right now, right? Because now you're asking them to, the $20 they put aside for the movie, you're asking now for $800 worth of movies. But they've allotted the $20 for their entertainment, right? And then they go shopping. And when they go shopping, they've allotted another $5 for salad dressing. Right. And so what they look and they go, oh, there's Paul. I get all these salad dressing, and then I see Paul Newman. I go, Paul Newman, right? I go, Paul, like Paul Newman got my money at the movie theater, but then I go to the store. I got another $10 to spend. I get all these brands of salad dressing. I see Paul Newman. I buy Paul Newman. And I was like, Kirk, make your own salad dressing. That's not sucking everything out of your fan base. It's actually brand recognition. And that was before I was ever talking about brand or anything. I just thought, I was thinking about how, right, people's money. And by the way, not making money off of family and friends, boy, how is that now turned with the parallel economy in this whole conversation now, right, about where we're spending our money? Am I giving them to woke corporations, or am I like, now it turns out all we want to do is give our money to friends and family? Like, Amway was there. Amway is there. It's mind blowing, you know? Somebody understood it, right? So, and the reason why things like Amway will always get a bad rap is because the bad rap will come from people who want an easy ride.
Yeah.
And this was supposed to be easy. I was supposed to have 100 other people working for me.
Right, doing the work for me.
Doing the work for me. Well, yeah. Now that is a pyramid scheme. That's a Huck Finn, you know, pyramid scheme. Who's going to paint the, you know, the fence? Like, yeah, those are, you know, yeah, I get that, you know, but the idea of selling something, knowing you are finite in what you can do, and then giving people another opportunity and sharing in a percentage of that.
Right.
I mean, that is everything. That's the mailbox money everybody says they want to get somehow. So Amway gets the bad rap, but what's every ad on social media about passive income?
Yeah.
Right. So
like, who's doing the work somewhere so that you're able to do that? Right. But somehow, like, if you contract with some manufacturer in China to be able to produce this widget or whatever, and you get contract with Amazon to be able to put it out there, and you just kind of sit back and, you know, that's okay.
Well, you know, and Amway at its core really gets rid of what I think everyone means when they say they hate big business. Yeah. And they hate marketing and advertising, and they hate all the corporate stuff that's being sold. I mean, what could be more inverted on that than saying, well, we're not spending $1 billion on our energy drink ad to sell you a lifestyle.
We're giving it to American families.
Right, we're giving it to
Well,
American families.
it's
instead of
international
ship.
now, but we're giving it to
Right.
individual
Right.
families
Right.
across the world who are hustling.
Right. And so now all of a sudden, there's not a marketing campaign to be upset about, or propaganda about it. It's like, no, I met this family next door and they had excess energy drinks. And you know what? Turned out they were just as good, if not better, with multiple flavors from an energy. And it's all natural in the sense of not having the sugars and particular things. And it's just a delicious energy drink. And by the way, they're the only one I know that even has a root beer flavored energy drink. Like, I don't know anyone that's got that, right? So how is that possible? Well, it's possible when you're not spending all this upfront money on propaganda. So I think, again, I think the Amway model is still really, really powerful. And I think moving forward, it may, it may become just, well, let me give you one weird, this will tie into our culture and maybe something else. So,
okay.
I was there with Brandon Ebel, the owner of Tooth and Nail Records, in the midst of the MXPX controversy. And did he dupe them into a contract that was unethical? And did he dupe them into a contract that was unethical because he had rights to the music, which, by the way, there's a law on how much you can own on publishing. He could only own legally how much you could own. But he had, you can't have a piece of merchandise, and you can't have a piece of their touring, and you can't have a piece of all this. That's unethical. And no one had ever done that in the history of, well, early on they did, but for the modern state of music, this was unethical. Was it against the law? Were there laws? Some states did have it. California had certain laws. He was in Seattle. He was in Washington. So, and I remember in the midst of all that, I said to Brandon, "Are you doing anything wrong?" And Brandon said, "Darren, I've run the numbers, and there will be no record company in existence in the next 20, 30 years unless they have a piece of everything. I'm just preparing for that now. There's no way I can sustain what I'm doing unless I keep playing this game of borrowed money and all this debt you take out. Like, that's, unless you have the Beatles back catalog in your Capitol records, Darren, trust me." And I was like, wow, that's kind of heavy. Where are we at now in 2015 or 2016 was the first 360 deal. I think Madonna did it. And what was that? It was a record company saying, we can't afford to give you $1 million advances anymore unless we have a piece of merchandise, a piece of, the touring, and then Live Nation. That Brandon was right. Like, he was right. So the idea now becomes, what will it look like in the future? What will business look like in the future? And I think Amway is still right on track, because when you build a business like Amway, as much as you can say there's a bottom part that is ugly, let's just assume it's ugly, disgruntled people. Well, show me anywhere where anything's been built that there's not a lower level of disgruntled people, right? When we love it and we can't live without it, we're fine with that. We're fine with Amazon workers striking. We're fine with Amazon workers doing, 70-hour shifts. Like, we're fine with that because we can't live without it. It's easy to pick on Amway if you don't need it, because but you're not going to bag on Walmart. You're not going to bag on, And by the way, remember when Walmart was good for communities? Like, I thought that was the whole thing. It was a Walmart coming.
Yeah.
Jobs, and we're going to have stuff. And so, I'm still bullish on that.
Yeah. I don't know how much time you have left, but I want to be conscientious of your time.
I'm good.
One of the things that I've, I've been trying to be really, thoughtful about things, and, it's really kind of encouraged me to kind of dive deep and, really pull things out, especially in this, Amway type space, and identify, what is it about
the nature of it that maybe gives people pause or raises objections. When I see so much positive things, I think the system rewards the people who are honest and have integrity and do things well, like over the long term, and the people who have lack the work ethic or do want to use people, or like they're gone pretty quick because it doesn't work. One of the things that I've kind of noticed and kind of have looked at is it's having the low barrier of entry is a positive in one sense, because it makes it accessible to everybody, but then it makes it easy also for people to get out. So I think that's part of what helps or is difficult about building trust, is that I think people inherently know, whether it's a potential customer or potential business partner, is like, are you in this or not? Like, you haven't gone through the taking out a loan or building or renting a storefront, and so like you haven't like established yourself such that, okay, I can trust you because like you're here, like you're committed, like I can see that and intuitively sense something about that because of the way traditional business works, requires you to do that.
Right.
I see, I look at guys like, Ben Greenfield, who's kind of doing the same sort of thing with Keon. I see Nick Bear. I don't know if you're familiar with him at all. He's ex-military, has his own line of sports nutrition supplements. But like Ben and Nick, and they produce content, and that they put stuff out there. They do a good job of telling the story of how they got to where they're at, telling the story of like, where's this product coming from. Like, they have this authenticity and ownership because like they're involved in the process of creating the product. Whereas somebody like myself, like I like these products, I can endorse them, and I can do that genuinely. But I can't, make content of taking you into the factory where we formulate this stuff, and like there is a sense in which I can't touch that sort of authenticity story, because like in the end of the day, like it's not my product. Like I wasn't involved in its genesis and thinking through the problem. They are like, what kind of need are we going to solve with this, and how are we going to make the best product possible for the customer, and really meet these needs. And so I guess that's something that I kind of am envious of these guys, that I kind of follow, and like, okay, what can I learn from some of these things? So if you're looking at somebody who's like just this average everyday person, that hear what you say about Amway and they go like, oh, hey, this might be a good thing to do. Like, how do they maybe overcome that and build an authentic brand when it's somebody else's product?
Well, I mean, I don't think there needs to be a distinction.
Okay.
Right. I mean, if you're all in, you're all in.
Mm-hmm.
Right. If you leave Amway, it's not like you go to the other Amway. You know what I mean? Like, so which I think is a benefit, right? Mm-hmm. If you get out, then you get out, whatever. You know what I mean? But I think the ability to actually be, again, and I forget what the rules are, that stuff, but I mean, I'm assuming there's a lot more that can be being done, because I know you've got someone like a Matt Walsh, who is sponsored by XS Nation.
Oh, really?
On the energy drink, right? So I see Matt Walsh posting XS all the time to his 250,000 followers as a professional surfer, right? So I don't know why. I mean, I'd be doing that with every product that I'm selling if I was doing Amway.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. I would be. I mean, I'm still watching your stuff. I'm still wondering, like, what are you selling? Like, because you don't really talk about it.
Well, and that's part of what
I'd like to know. If I'm you, I would take your stories,
mm-hmm.
and are your reels, and I would just dedicate that to your Amway products.
Okay. Yeah, and
Because I trust you enough. I trust you enough, and you've never tried to sell me.
sure. Yeah.
Like, and I am curious, like, what do you think are the top products, or what are the top products for Amway? What are the products that just crush for Amway?
I think a lot of the excess and Neutralite products are huge. I mean, health, health products, vitamins and stuff like that is a huge industry. And you look at like the individual like silos, like Amway has like basically multiple businesses. Like there's Neutralite, there's excess, there's artistry, there's G&H, there's all these different sub brands that they have, but the by far the biggest one is Neutralite, because they've been around since Carl Renberg in the 30s and the first multivitamin and stuff like that. So people are looking to improve their health, and often people are looking to do it with a pill more so than or a tablet more so than with, well, you got to exercise and you got to have eat right and make these changes to your life. And so, not that those aren't still recommended.
Do they have a amino line?
Yes. Yeah, that's one of my favorites. I take that every day. That's excess. Like they call it muscle multiplier, which again, like
so that's still a division of excess.
What's that?
So that's still a division of excess then.
Yeah. So excess has really gone and developed a lot in the regards to sports nutrition.
I mean, excess, I know the number. I shouldn't say how I know, but I know the numbers of excess. And the numbers of excess are staggering.
Yeah.
Staggering for an energy drink not in retail.
Right. It's the third highest in the world, only behind Monster and Red Bull.
That's what I mean by, I don't know, man. I'm like I said, I've honestly thought about maybe I'll just go all in on excess again, because I just love applying all these things.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I still think I had this talk with wealth management guy. Like I was saying, look, there can't be friction. There can't be friction to get what I want. So even if you convince me where to put my 200 grand, you're going to send me paperwork because it takes me hours to get through. Show up with the yellow tab like my accountant does for me. Sign. Here's power of attorney. Take care of it. I'm done. Right. So I'm curious what the friction is. Once I know, I call and they send me excess, so I'm fortunate. But I'm a fan, and they know I'm a fan.
Yeah.
Like the excess people know that I love it. And I'll drink it. And my kids will drink it. Like I love excess. It's a superior product. It's a gnarly superior product. And that's what I mean by, so the fact that it's doing what it's doing in the marketplace, not in retail, which by the way, is the only way you can succeed with the energy drink is retail.
Oh yeah.
And you got to put millions, 100 million plus to get in that game. So if they were number 10, it would be impressive. Right. And they're top 3, they're top 5, again, but let's be honest, the excess game is the way they're playing their game is different than everything else in Amway.
How so?
I think it's a much more modern approach. I think the branding in and of itself of it is different.
Okay.
And the way they've gone after, intentionally or not, the way it falls in, active people, lifestyle, that goes back to what you first talked about, organic, local, connecting. It for some reason, once you say, but I want to sell you paper towels, that feels like the old Amway. Right? Like there's tissue products. you know,
Laundry detergent.
the energy drink.
So
What's that?
laundry detergent. Like
Yes.
that's
Right.
that's
Right.
the bread and butter.
It's not sexy. It's not sexy.
Right.
You know, and
I
I
think-
don't know enough about the other stuff, but it seems like the other stuff is still in the excess world, and that can't be a coincidence that what they're doing.
Mhm.
It really, look, I'm not fully educated here, but I would assume the things that are succeeding feel like a totally different brand. Right. And because of that sub-brand
Mhm.
in a subculture with the strength and power of an Amway behind them, Amway doesn't care if the word Amway ever gets used.
Yeah, and that's kind of the route that I've gone. It's like you
Right.
have these sub brand, and I'm not trying to be sneaky or subversive or anything like that, but Amway either means nothing to people because they haven't heard of it,
Right.
or it means something counterproductive. Whereas, okay, Neutralite, like vitamins, health supplements, excess energy drink, sports nutrition, that active lifestyle, or
Do they have a hydration competitor? I mean, a hydration competitive product with
like Gatorade?
no, not Gatorade. I'm thinking the other one I do. Poured into my water. Shoot, I'm blanking on the name of it, but I'm curious if they have. I mean, hydration is so. I mean, that's like the thing now.
Yeah, they have like an electrolyte sports drink
Yeah.
twist tube,
Yeah.
where you pour it into your, it's concentrated and thing, you twist it open,
Yeah.
put it in. It has electrolytes and B vitamins.
Yep. Got it. Okay, cool.
I
Yeah,
know.
I mean, that stuff is, I mean, again, I think I mean, back to your point you were saying there, either people know or they don't, but more people don't now, so it's just growing.
Right. Yeah.
But that's the point, is the brand becomes you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like it's not being dishonest. It's, look, I have access to something and I'm selling it.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
I love that. I mean, I still love it.
Well, I appreciate that. And it's nice having somebody who sees what I'm doing and understands. Like, I know you understand and you get it, because like I'm getting it from you, and appreciates that. But
how's it going for you? How's Amway doing for you right now?
I've got customers that kind of have been trickling in here and there, bit by bit, and that's part of the balance that I'm trying to figure out. Like, how much am I in? Like, I just need to focus on brand building, and I'm trying to make something every day, and I look for the low hanging fruit. And so sometimes it's just my kid is doing something really cute or really cool, and I'm just making something with that, and I'm just making something and posting something and just trying to get that.
Why are you not connecting your borderline insane activities that you do with excess
Well,
and all the products?
I guess that's a little bit of a report card. I feel like I do.
Well, no, but I mean really go all in.
So like every post has
a whole
product
separate world
placement or
dedicated
mention.
to, or a whole separate post dedicated, even site, just build it from the ground up. Especially on TikTok. Oh my gosh. I mean, I haven't even looked at XS on TikTok. Have we even, I mean, I haven't even looked to see what it's doing. I'd be curious to check while we're here. Hold on.
Okay, sounds good.
Well, no, because I'm curious, because to me, if I'm you, I'm taking all the crazy work you're already doing.
Yeah.
And promoting this. Like I said, I'm curious. Let's look at this real quick. Yeah, so the thing I find really interesting is, yeah, so to me, this is a positive in that they have their TikTok,
Mhm.
but not very, we just sit here.
8 tips to make running.
There you go. Yeah, so maybe one a day, every other day. They should be 5 times a day on TikTok, you know. And I actually think there is a, like if someone said to me, Darren, if you had to start something totally new that you're not related, but use everything you've been doing,
Yeah.
I'd say, all right, well, I would force myself to work out and be active. And I would do it all on TikTok, and I would promote XS Nation products nonstop and say, hit me up. I'm going to be your dealer. 5 posts a day. And I bet I would do $250,000 a year.
So doing that, so doing a post like that,
I'd make myself, I'm right, like I'm me, and so I'm gonna just make myself work out, be active, do things, work through the lines. I would just say, and why am I here? I'm here because I'm building a business, and my business is selling you X, Y, and Z. It's why I'm here. Who's going to respect the hustle? But let me tell you what I'm selling you. I'm selling you this. I love this. You know what? I love energy drinks. I love root beer more than I love energy drinks. And so the fact that I have a root beer energy drink, dude, maybe you fall in that category with me. Hit that link right there. You can buy all this from me. Like, I'm here to sell. I'm here to share your stuff. You're looking at stuff. No, let's not act like we can't act like we're not selling stuff here, but I want to bring you a great product. You know, that's what I do. I'm Darren Doane and I sell XS. Like, let's go. Like, I would be all in like that. I'd be all in like that. And I'd be, see, when you see opportunity that the big boys aren't taking,
mm-hmm.
That's what I mean by there's all, now XS is different, which is I like that. It's made for this.
Mm-hmm.
So I would go all in on that product. And I would tell people, here's how you buy it from me. Here's what it looks like. If you're going to place your first order, I would do a video on what it's going to look like. Show me the screen recording, and when it's going to look like this. Show me the process. Walk me through the process. Then I'll start buying XS from you. Like, right? I mean, shouldn't I be buying XS through you?
It wouldn't bother me at all. That's for sure.
That's my point, right? So I'm saying there's a lot of money people are leaving on the table because they're just not, like, you're putting the work in. It's just a matter of, let's just, where do we put the work in at?
Yeah, and that's, you know, part of what I've been trying to sort out. Like, hey, how much do I focus on building brand, telling a story, adding value to other people with my content?
Focus. Look, have a separate side business on TikTok that is just selling people great products that you like. That's it.
So that's all that is.
Right, because you're bringing them value. If they've been dying for an energy drink that's also maybe root beer, or if they want an all natural energy drink, or if they want, you know, creatine. Creatine's so hot right now. Creatine's insane right now.
That's one of XS's notable absences, is they don't have a creatine.
They don't.
They don't.
Wow.
I think it may have been because they were scared off by it can do some damage to your kidneys if you don't take enough water. If you don't drink enough water with it, it can be problematic in that regard. So I think they just kind of stayed away from that.
Right.
They've gone, you know, all in on some other stuff.
They will show up with it because, look, I mean, people are realizing now, like, a lot of people like me thought creatine was a thing you took to get bigger muscles.
Yeah.
That's what I thought creatine was. You took creatine in high school, because it was going to give you just bigger muscles, right? So,
Right.
But I think people are realizing now that there's energy,
Hmm.
The amino acids that it is, and aminos and all that, and what, like, all this different. There's just a lot, what it does for water, all that. So just, it's hot. The stuff is hot. So but I think for you, I would love to see that, because you're actually living that lifestyle, and there's no reason why you couldn't be taking advantage of that. And again, you're going to put the work in anyways. You may as well put into a place that's going to give you all that free organic reach,
Yeah.
So
All right. Well, there's my homework. There's my takeaway. Start
awesome.
Start a separate.
We got it.
All right, well, I really appreciate it, Darren, and love being able to talk about different things that the average person can just kind of pick up and use, whether it's in the Amway space like I'm at, or the Wix idea. That was a great one. And I love listening to you, because I know you've got your ear to the ground when it comes to so much of this different stuff, and whatever I can pick up and get to the average person and get them to think a little bit bigger and see the opportunity that isn't as far out of reach as perhaps they think it is. And that's kind of where my heart is at. And so thanks for coming on and helping with that. Really appreciate all that you're doing and what you're sharing.
Thank you so much. And I'm going to expect to have another invite at some point, and we'll just go through some more stuff.
Okay, we'll see what my report card looks like then.
Is there a big Amway podcast somewhere?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
We gotta find that out.
Okay.
We gotta find that out. And if not, you gotta start it.
Can I tell him something?
Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to get myself to do, is to go a little bit more all in on this is what network marketing to the glory of God looks like.
Here you go. I think your daughter had a question.
She wants to know when this is done or something like that. Or
is that your question?
No.
What's your question?
I didn't want to ask a question.
Oh, what did you want to say? You can go ahead and ask that question. All
right, I'm ready.
Yeah, ask it nice and loud.
Daddy's got a store.
She does. Can I tell him that Daddy has a store?
He's got a store? What does he sell in the store?
He's got makeup and vitamins.
Yeah. That's awesome.
She was just
toothpaste.
She was just
I love it.
She was just recently looking at the website, the online storefront, and she's like, Daddy has a store? And so just but yeah, we were actually just kind of talking about Daddy's store.
That's right. That's right. Send me all your stuff too. Send me a link to where I can look at the stuff that show me what you're showing people when you're showing people. I still want to learn more about it. So just send me a link, okay?
So are you talking about like
all the Amway stuff, whatever you're selling? I want to know what you're doing. Show me even more about what you're doing, okay?
So like the reels that I have been doing that showcase?
No. As far as when someone goes to buy from you, show me the process. Where are you sending them, right? If I say, hey, I want to buy toothpaste from you, show me where you're sending me.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Yeah, I can do that.
I want to see what that disconnect is, or no disconnect between you and the product. Show me. If I say, hey, I want to buy XS from you, show me that process, okay?
Okay. All right.
Is it just a code? Is it just a link? And you're going to say put a code in?
Yeah. So I would send you my retail website. So like there's like,
show me that. That's what I want to see.
Like right now?
No, just email it and then I'll take a look at it.
Okay. So you would go there and then I could give you instructions on, I could either set up a customer account for you or give you instructions on how you can do that from that website.
Real? Okay. All right. Yeah. Let's walk through that. I still want to learn more.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Well,
See you
thanks
guys.
again.
Have a great
so much.
weekend. Have a great Memorial Day weekend as well.
All right, you too.
See
Have
you
a
guys.
good one.
Bye bye.
Bye.